makes this coconut Tres Leches cake so special is the 3 milk sauce. To make our 3 milk sauce, we're using heavy cream, sweetened condensed milk, and cream of coconut, which gives this sauce a delicious coconutty flavor. We start out by beating 4 eggs until they're frothy. So we're going to beat the eggs on high speed. It takes about 20 or 30 seconds. And now we're going to slowly add 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. Now that we've gradually added our sugar, we're going to beat this for 5 minutes on high until it's a very lemony color. After you beat this for 5 minutes, this is going to be very thick and lemon colored. So don't skip that step. Go a full 5 minutes on high. That is going to give us a lovely texture to this beautiful cake. And now you're going to need 1/4 cup of water, cold water, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm going to go ahead and add this vanilla in with my water. Pour your water and vanilla in. And we are just going to mix this on low for about 30 seconds. That was easy. And now we're just going to fold in our dry ingredients. You'll need 1 cup of all-purpose flour combined with 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm slowly adding our dry ingredients and just stirring this with a spatula. Just fold your flour mixture in and give it a couple of stirs. If you have a few small lumps, that's okay. You see how thick but yet light and airy this batter is. It makes a wonderful cake. All we do now is pour this into our 11x7 well-greased pan. Now I'm using a glass dish. And one thing to remember when you bake with a glass dish, it's slow to heat up, but once it gets hot, it maintains its heat. So you'll want to definitely check this at the low end of the baking range, which is about 20 minutes to 25 minutes. So this is going into a 350-degree oven on the center rack for 20 to 25 minutes. While our cake's in the oven, let's blend together our 3 milks. 1 can of sweetened condensed milk, 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. This cake is going to be so moist. And the star of our coconut Tres Leches cake is cream of coconut. This definitely needs to be shaken well. So make sure you're using cream of coconut rather than coconut milk. It'll have that nice thick texture, and this is going to give so much flavor to this cake. After the cake comes out of the oven, we're going to let it cool for about ½ an hour. Then we'll poke holes and pour our 3 milks in. The last ingredient in our milk mixture is 1 tablespoon of vanilla. This is a lot of vanilla, and this cake is just going to be awesome. You could use 3 tablespoons of rum in the 3 milk mixture. We're going to bring the cake out of the oven in a few minutes, and we're going to put it on a wire rack to cool for about 30 minutes. And you can see this is going to add so much moisture to our cake. Let's set this aside in the refrigerator, and we'll check on our cake. Skewer over here. Just a little sticky with a couple of crumbs, but it's not wet. It is just so beautiful. Now, some people pour the milk over as soon as it comes out of the oven. I believe that the cake needs to rest for at least 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, because the cake is still cooking. It's continuing to cook because the glass is retaining that heat. So I like for that center to get fully cooked and let this cool a bit. I think it just ends up being a lot nicer texture. We're going to garnish our coconut Tres Leches cake with some toasted coconut on top of some whipped cream. Go ahead and spread your coconut onto a full-line cookie sheet, and that can go right in the oven after your cake comes out. You toast coconut for about 8 minutes in total, tossing it with a fork about halfway through. And it toasts up fairly quickly, so you want to keep your oven light on and keep an eye on it and set your timer. I find it's best to line your baking sheet with foil because when we go to remove this, simply pull our foil up and make it like a funnel. This cake is cooled about 45 minutes and you see it's really pulled away from the side here. Just love how this cake cooked. Look, it's so beautiful. So let's go ahead and poke holes, and you can use a toothpick. And you see, I went very slowly here, and you see what happens. It grabs some of the cake. So what is best is to just go very, very quickly. Wipe your toothpick with a damp cloth and get rid of the sticky. You can get nice clean holes. I've brought our milk mixture out of the refrigerator. I'm going to give it a good whisk. This smells like ice cream. So yummy. I pour about 1/3 of it on there at the time. So just take your time with this step and pour about 1/3 of it on there and let it seep into those holes. Now our last 1/3. And this is a lot of this milk mixture. It is going to make a delicious, moist, flavorful cake. This cake is going in the refrigerator now for about 3 to 4 hours. It will be well worth the wait. You'll want to leave your cake in the refrigerator for several hours, 3 to 4 hours, or even overnight, to give the sponge a chance to soak up as much of that 3 milk sauce as it can. You'll still end up with a layer of the 3 milk sauce on top of the cake. You'll also see that it's run down the sides. And this 3 milk sauce with the vanilla flavoring or the rum if you choose is going to give this cake so much moisture and flavor. Last thing we're going to do before we serve this cake is garnish it with our freshly made whipped cream and then add some of our toasted coconut, and I've also sliced some fresh strawberries to put on my cake. And our final step is to make our whipped cream for the top of our beautiful cake. You'll need a well-chilled bowl, 3/4 of a cup of heavy whipping cream, of powdered sugar, and go ahead and whisk this with your hand mixer or your stand mixer until you have your beautiful whipped topping. Not going too far. I put my fresh whipped cream in my little piping tool, but you could certainly use a piping bag. And you see that was just enough whipped topping. And I like to sprinkle on this toasted coconut in between and around the outside edge. This cake is just absolutely superb.